We are live. So, welcome, Dr. Mapenzie. Thank you so much for making the time. Happy Valentine's Day.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this will be amazing. I think this has been one of the chats that I've been looking forward to, and yeah. I think there's a lot that we have to unpack when it comes to a chat with you, and that's why I'm looking forward to this chat. So, quickly, just take me through your background to, yeah, to where you are at the moment.
Okay, so currently based in Manchester, UK. That's where I am right now. Um, a little bit about my background. My background is in social science. I majored in economics, product of Chanko. Product of Chanko. So my major economics, finished my bachelor's then many years ago, come to think of it. Yeah, finished my bachelor's many years ago. I'm not sure if the after years are needed.
Okay.
When I finished my bachelor's, I was more focused on, like still trying to find what I wanted to do, whether working, doing what economists do, or doing something else. But then one thing that came as a surprise when I was doing my bachelor's was I loved teaching. Strange. And during group discussions, like my friends would always go like, Mapenzie, you're very good at explaining things. You're very good at explaining things. And I just decided to just lean into it as I tried to figure out what I wanted to do with my bachelor's in economics. And then, lucky enough, I managed to get a 3-year teaching contract with Kamuzu Academy. So I went to Kamuzu Academy, and there I was teaching economics and business studies. I was there for like 3 years, and then I was like, okay, I've done the teaching, I've paid my dues, I've satisfied that itching that I had. Now let me figure out what I wanted to do. And then I joined AICC, African Institute of Corporate Citizenship, so project management thereabouts. But then when I went into project management, I found that I loved research. I loved the idea of, planning out the project, setting out the activities, doing the budgeting, and then working with people to implement those activities, and then, getting the basic data and then seeing where you're coming from, what you have done 6 months down the line. And then I was like, you know what? I want to go into research, do something that has to put me in a place where I'm doing data and, writing and all that. But I only had a bachelor's, and I was like, I think I need to do more, I need to get the qualifications for this. So I managed to get an Irish Aid scholarship for 1 year in Ireland. So I went to do my master's with Trinity College, which is TCD, one of the best universities in Ireland, right at the center of Dublin. That's where I was for like a year. And this was in applied social research, master's in applied social research. That's it. For the whole year, what we did was focusing on quantitative and qualitative research and anything to do with research. And through that, I think it just gave me the confidence to handle research. If you throw quantitative, if you throw qualitative, I was like, okay, this is my thing now. But I thought doing school and where I was at that time, I was thinking, no, what, let's just get this over and done with. So 3 months into my master's, I applied for a PhD and got accepted. So the time I was finishing my master's, I had already been offered like a conditional offer for my PhD with University of Manchester. So finished my master's and went straight for my PhD. So I've since finished my PhD and currently working in academia, doing both teaching and research. So that's where I am. That's where I'm coming from.
All right, that's a very interesting background. And I mean, it's not normal people who apply for a PhD when they're 3 months into a master. So yeah, that makes sense to you, but I don't think it makes sense to me. So just to put it out there.
Okay.
So in terms of your experience doing your DPhil, sorry, your PhD, how was the experience for you?
Um, okay, so experience, it can be a lot of things, Chimwemu. So break it down for me. What do you want to focus on? Because I can talk about academia, I can talk
So
about as you know, as
let's
a
start. Let's start with expectations. What expectations did you have when you were applying, and were those expectations met when you started doing the actual studies?
Okay, so I cannot start talking about expectations before I give credit where it's due. Richard Muntali, I think he's one of the key people. He has remained one of the most important and I think influential people when it comes to scholarships and giving information about available scholarships. So I was privileged to know Richard when I was teaching at Kamuzu Academy. We were neighbors, literally neighbors. So when he went to do further studies, I had told him that, you know what, I'm interested in getting a master's and a PhD as well. So he kept on posting. And the time I had gone for my master's, he had just posted something. It was like, you know what, neighbor, I think this might be of interest to you. And at that time, I was just 3 months into it. So when he had sent that, I was like, should I apply for this? And he's like, yes, apply for it. And I did. So just a little bit on the curiosity as in how did that happen. So really, like I just want to like acknowledge the role that Richard Junganiko Muntali played in my ability to proceed or get a PhD. Now, experiences, expectations. I think the advantage that I had was I was coming from a master's. So my brain was already, in school mode, and I was like, okay, let's do this. And I was a bit confident because I felt like for a PhD, for me to be successful, pursuing my PhD, I needed to have the research skills and qualifications. And having the master's, in applied social research, I was like, I've got this. Yeah. But I cannot ignore the other part of, PhD. Oh my gosh, it's a big deal. Okay. It's a big deal. It's not something that you just jump in and then, you run with it. So a bit of me was a little bit apprehensive thinking about, okay, how am I going to handle it, or how am I going to feel? Am I still going to feel like I've got this, I'm still smart enough, I understand what's going on, or at some point it's going to be overwhelming and I'm gonna go like, you know what, I can't do this. I think I was way over my head and all that. But I kept my options open. I was like, okay, let's see how it's going to be. So in my first year, I remember it was more of, okay, I want to test the waters. I want to see how hard this PhD is, because I was surrounded, like I had that perception that, okay, PhD is not like a bachelor's, it's not like a master's. So when I was going into my first year, even though I was feeling confident that I have what it takes, but I was still cautious on, okay, this might be way, I might find myself, this is way too much. So I would say I was confident, but also the other part was like, okay, let me test the waters. Let me see how this is going to be. That's how I started. Yeah. And then going through that first year, second year, third year, maybe we'll get into the details. Yeah, that changed. It was a day by day that changed. So that's how I got into it. That's the sort of like the expectations and, setting myself, trying to understand my own abilities based on what this PhD was going to throw my way. Yeah.
All right. Quick question. Was it worth it to do a PhD?
Yes. Yes, it was worth it to do a PhD. Okay, so I'm gonna say it was worth it to do a PhD on two fronts, starting with one. If I get back to the other, if I forget to get back to the other one, sorry, but it was worth it because since I got my PhD, the way that I understand things, even things that are not related to the actual PhD that I was doing itself, I've gained so many skills that I'm able to apply to even my day-to-day lives my day-to-day life that has nothing to do with the actual, research that I was doing. The resilience, the extra mile that you have to go, the hunger for knowledge that you always have to have, the self-checking, self-criticism that you have to pause for yourself, and also the acknowledging that, okay, I'm not always gonna know everything, but I have to work with what I have, but at the same time acknowledge the things that, I do not know. And also the confidence, I think one of the other social or lighter things about a PhD that I thought with where I wanted to be career-wise, I felt like I needed to be qualified in a way that I can understand some of the things that I would have to engage with. For example, some of the literature, some of the debates that I'll have to, be involved with, in meetings, in conferences, or when presenting my work. I felt like I needed to have, some set of skills. So it has given me that. And now I feel more confident to engage or to debate at, different levels because, I can understand those things and I can self-taught as well. Yeah, because PhD, a lot of, yeah. Yeah, so let me stop there for now.
You said two things, you've told me one.
I've actually told you more than two. But the other thing that I was going to add to that, why PhD has been worth it, is I think it has opened up so many opportunities for me and even changed the trajectory of where I would have been. Because what I'm doing now, I don't think this is what I would have been doing, first and foremost, in terms of work. Where I'm based at now, I don't think I would be here if I didn't do my PhD, So I came for my PhD here in the UK. And to be honest, my plan wasn't to stay in the UK. When I just came in, like, oh, I'm just gonna do my PhD, finish that, and then go back. But then, life happened, and here we are, and we are exposed to different opportunities, engaging with different networks. And I mean, it's these are doors that have been opened because I took this path of pursuing a PhD. So it was worth it on that front as well, apart from the knowledge, but also on the personal side, it was worth it. Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. You moved from Malawi, you came to the UK, you went to Ireland. How was the transition for you? From the University of Malawi system to the island. Then we'll move to the island to England later, but let's start with the first one.
Let's start with Ireland. Okay, so one of the things that I got to appreciate more was the influence of our culture on, how we engage with, how we interact with knowledge, how we interact in debates, or how we interact in public spaces. I never really thought so much about it the time that I was in Malawi. And I was privileged as well when I was in Malawi. I had a number of times that I traveled to other countries as well for work. So would go, come back, would go, come back. But going to Ireland, it was my first time, like the longest time that I was outside Malawi, and I got to be exposed to different things, not just the education part. The transition from University of Malawi to Ireland, I got to deal with, I think the major thing that I remember that I had to step back and be cautious of was that it was okay to to be, let me say, argumentative. Okay, it's okay to be argumentative, and it's okay to be critical. You know, whilst my background, whilst my culture expected me as, you know, a woman, to, you know, not be too loud, you know, to listen to my elders, you know, to not be, you know, too vogue, to be great, not be graceful, you know, as a woman, and things like that. I came face to face with that in my literature review. The first assignment that we had to do that looked around, that we were expected to do like a literature review, and there you have, okay, you know, key authors in this area in development. For example, you have Ian Scoons, you have these people, and then I'm thinking, if they're saying this is like a lead author, like this is the father of knowledge here, who am I to like say otherwise to the arguments that he is saying? So I found myself more on the, oh, so and so said, so it is, so and so said, instead of like, oh yeah, so and so did say that, but there are also, you know, these other thoughts that also went to, but this is also maybe limited, maybe to the to this other side of the world and not this other side. So that's one, I think that's the main thing that I remember that I had to deal with transitioning from Malawi to Ireland, and also shifting beyond the, yeah, I've read the book, so here it is, this is what I have learned, this is what I have read. I was expected to go beyond that. Yes, you have read that, so what? Yeah, so those are I think the things that I had to really come face to face with and deal with that, while also, you know, learning the culture of people that I was around with in Ireland. They like to queue. It didn't make sense to me. I'm coming from Shanko, where we druze for everything, you know, food, tea, you know, you're druzing food. And these people, you go at a bus stage, the next person just gets to stand behind the other person and the other person. And I'm like, what's going on? You know? So things like that as well were also some of the things that I had to like, oh, okay, all right. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
It really does. What is the one thing, what is the one funny thing that you remember now that you did in Ireland? Not fun, but funny thing. Could be a mistake, um, could be losing luggage, any of that. I know everybody has one of those.
okay, so I cannot talk about my Ireland days without talking about my mesho. My mesho Besa Banda Besa Kayuni. We were taking the same we're doing the same masters, the same course combinations, everything. So we were staying also at the same, you know, place. So we're almost together. And I remember the first time we got on the bus to go to school, we were like, Mesho, you need to make sure. Now we have gone and dropped off. So the good thing was, like, our university was right in the heart of, you know, Dublin. So different drop-off points, we were already familiar with that because we had done, you know, the orientation, the shopping and whatnot. So we knew that if we miss a bus stop by 1 or 2, we'll still find our way to the university. But now going back to our accommodation, you know, the bus stops were a bit further apart. So we're like, Mesho, we need to make sure we don't miss our bus stop. So we got in the bus, and even instead of enjoying the bus ride, you know, like when we're in the double decker and all, instead of enjoying the bus ride with my Mesho, like, my friend, watch this side, I watch the other side, so that we make sure we remember where we got this bus, because obviously we're gonna drop off from the other side, so we might not really see, you know, a familiar bus stop. I'm telling you, in that bus, my mission was, we could have been talking about so many things, but we were just so quiet, trying to make sure that I get to recognize the bus stop that we left at, and she get to recognize the bus stop that we had seen across the street when we were going inside. And oh my gosh, it was so intense. it was so intense, and I don't know what we were thinking was gonna happen if we were to like miss it by 2 bus stops. It would have just meant, you know, getting the other side, get the bus. But it was so intense for us. It's just like, Mish, are you like enough? You know, between the two of us, we managed to stop at the right stop and got off, and we're like, we've done that. So yeah, funny thing, that other than that, I think after that we're just like, you know what, when we get a chance to get on the bus, let's go as far as it can go, because the fare was the same anyway. You drop off here, drop off there, it's the same. So yeah, funny thing we do as well. That was
All
I
right,
don't know
now
if that counts.
that makes sense. So now transitioning to England.
Okay, so transitioning to England. I think I was a bit lucky when we're thinking about weather, because Ireland and UK, the weather it's not really that different, although I feel like Ireland is a bit worse when it comes to changes. 1 minute it's like this, the next minute it's way worse. Okay, so the feeling cold and all that, it wasn't as bad for me than it was for my husband. So when I went to Ireland, it was just 1 year. It was a 1 year master's. I went there by myself. But when I was going for my PhD, I came with my husband. So at least it was the two of us. So the transition was, I would say, much softer, because I felt like Ireland, the culture, you know, the school that I had done there, it had, you know, softened me up, made, you know, the expectations, you know, in the right place and all that. So I think it was all right. Except I think things around now, this I'm talking on the social side, not on the school side, but then things like getting like adjusting to, you know, value of a pound versus the value of Malawi kwacha and all that. School was easy. School was the transition into the PhD. It was very, very gentle. My supervisors, amazing people. They made it so easy for me. Like they took into account that I was coming from Malawi, so they just couldn't like drop things like my way, like heavy things. So they eased me into it. Okay, so Mapenzie, what are you? Let's look at your proposal again. What are your research questions? So what are you thinking here? Oh, have you read about this? You know, take this 1 month. You know, read this, and then, you know, get back to us. Tell us what you have read, and then, you know, we'll catch up on that. So in terms of school, I think the transition was very easy and manageable, but the transition on the social side of, you know, finding accommodation and all that, that was drama. But yeah, so specific.
Let's get to that drama. That's why we're here. What was dramatic about it?
Okay, so first and foremost, let's talk about the visas, like what our visas were. So for my PhD, I had, by the graces of God, I'm a Christian, big believer in the power of God. So by the mercies of God, I had managed to get a scholarship for the duration of my PhD, covering fees, upkeep, and fieldwork expenses. So everything except visa cost. So visa costs were on me. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back. The visa costs for you to find your to study. So they're going to sort out everything, but you have to sort. Okay, fine. Keep going.
So my provisions were the moment I get here to the UK. So flights, visas, and all that, none of their business. That was my problem. So yeah, we had to source money for the air tickets for the two of us, myself and my husband, and we had to work out the visa cost and everything. Yeah, we had to do all that by ourselves. Lucky enough, when I was finishing my master's, I had my master's had a component of a placement. So the placement that I got, for some reason, it happened that they were paying me for it. So the money that they were paying me, really helped a great deal because I started saving that. Remember, I had already been offered, I had already been given a conditional offer. So I knew that I'll be going to the UK, but I had not secured, you know, like the scholarship for everything else. So I was saving anyway. So that helped a bit, but still we had to figure that ourselves. So when we got here, I remember you know, people, people were very, people were very kind. Friends of friends were like, oh, I'll give you the address that you can use on your application. You can use my address so that you come here, but you know you're not really going to go there. Yeah, we had some family friends as well that were very kind to say, oh, okay, you can come and stay with us for a little bit as you find your footing and everything like that. But unfortunately, the day we were landing, they were still in Israel for holiday. So we landed at we landed at the airport in Manchester, and they were not there. They were still out of the country. They were not here. Gosh, how is this gonna work out? But because of like how far God had taken us to that point, you know, that TB test and, you know, Partners in Hope being the only place that can handle that, and then like you booked the visas already and the TB test certificate, they tell you that, oh, okay, still in South Africa, it's not yet here. So yeah, you get to decide either you cancel your appointment, you know, all that drama. God took us through all that. And I remember when we landed here, I was like, you know what, honey, I'm not gonna worry about where we're going to sleep. I'm not gonna worry about how this is gonna play out. I'm just gonna sit down and chill. He has brought us this far. I'm fine. And I remember when we landed 6 a.m. at at the airport in Manchester, and like we just sat there, like, you know, on the I was like, I'm so done being stressed because I know what God has done and I know he's not gonna leave us. But again, we were so lucky. We managed to find, you know, some friends, you know, old friends of parents that came through, and then we managed to find temporary accommodation for a couple of days. And then our uncle and aunt came through from Israel, and then they took us in. So we stayed with them for I think about 2 months, about 2 or 3 months. So that really, really made a huge difference because it was that time where I was able to, you know, go to the university, register, sort out my bank details so that now they can start giving me my, you know, stipend, so that, and then we can, you know, put down deposits for a house. And then, yeah, we moved into our own house, rented house. I remember in December, I think it was November, we had come here September. So September, October, around November, we were putting up with family, and then we moved into our own place. Yeah, but if it wasn't for, you know, people like those, I cannot imagine what our transition would have been like, especially because you have like this scholarship that covers your fees and your upkeep, but everything else you get to sort that out yourself. So, yeah.
Good. You talked about finding a house, deposits, and everything. Can you just get into that for a little bit so that we kind of have a full understanding? Yeah.
Okay, so the way it works here in the UK, at least this side of the UK where we are at, when you're going into like a rented house, the expectation is that you need to put down like a security deposit, you know, and usually it's equivalent to a month or a month or a month and a half or 2 months equivalent of the actual rent. So you pay that. So our accommodation was a house, 2-bedroomed house. It was 450. So we were expected, I think, to pay, I think it was about 1,200, if I remember. Everything else, like the deposit and the rent for that month, everything else was coming up to about 1,000 something. And again, we were lucky because those 2 months, 3 months we were putting up somewhere else, I was still getting when my bank was sorted out, they paid me all that like at once. So I had accumulated enough money to, you know, afford the 1,000 whatever that they needed us to pay. But again, if I didn't have that, it meant we wouldn't have moved into that house. So again, you see how, you know, the social network as well really gives you like a boost to help you get what you need. And the £1,000 was and is a lot of money. And I remember the day we went to the bank to get that money. And I get inside, I have my ATM card, and then I'm like, oh, I'm here. I want to withdraw money. One of the bank people came to me, were like, oh, okay, how much do you want to withdraw? I'm like, I want to withdraw 1,200. She looked at me, and then she called me to her office. And then I went there. She's like, are you okay? Isn't anyone trying to force you to withdraw the money? Are you sure? What do you want to use it for? You know, like just trying to take that, you know, like somebody's not trying to scam me or anything. And then like to her moving into a house, and I need to put a deposit and stuff. It's like, oh, okay, fine. So I'm just going to increase your maximum limit on your ATM withdrawal. The moment you get the money, immediately let me know so that I put it down back, you know. So managed to get that, and then they brought it all down, and we started staying in our own house, myself and my husband. And funny enough, I think it was the first time since we got married that we actually stayed in the same house proper, because in Malawi he was either based in another district, I'm in another one, he's in another one, I'm in another one. So
that is actually what I was about to ask, because you mentioned that you left the country to go do your master's and he was in Malawi. And I wanted to understand how that happened. How did even the conversation start in the first place? And I'm asking this because I know there are people who might be watching this who are considering to do studies, but they just don't know how to start a conversation with their partner.
Okay, so for us, okay, fun fact. So my husband is Louis Chikwaza. We were together at Chanko, and I remember when we started dating, one of the conversations that we had, you know, walking from Chanko to, you know, to town, I was like, you know what, you're gonna be a doctor, you do your PhD. And that time he was calling me Dr. Mapenzie. I was like, Dr. Mapenzie, and I'm like, what are you talking about? I was like, you're going to do a PhD some these coming years. So it was like he had already seen that for me. And when I was like, oh, I need to do my master's and all that, for him it was like, it was a matter of time. So he was very, very supportive throughout, you know, the process of, you know, doing the proposals, the editing, you know, like, oh, go for it, doing the IELTS, everything. He was very, very supportive. Did the master's, and when I got the PhD, I was like, go for it. I already told you that, you know, you were gonna do this. So there's, you know, nothing surprising there, nothing I can't stop you or anything. And I remember one of the things that I had said to him was, so when I did my master's, I had to go back to Malawi to collect data and all that. So, and then go back to finish. And when I was leaving to finish my master's, I told my husband, I'm like, you know what, Louis, I'm never going to leave this country again without you with me in that plane. So this is the last time I'm leaving for school or whatever, leaving you behind. So when the PhD happened, and then, you know, all the things that I had said that we didn't have money for the visas, we had to sort that out ourselves. I remember my husband like offering himself, saying, you know what, maybe you go and then, you know, get started on your studies, and then I can stay behind as we source money and stuff. I told him, no, if you're not coming with me, I am not going anywhere, you know, because you've been there, you know, you've been there throughout this whole conceptualization of, okay, let's do a PhD and all that. And that's not happening without you. So he had always, so what I'm trying to get at, he had always been for the idea. And I think even before I thought myself that, okay, I'm gonna do a PhD, I had not even, at that time I was just thinking of finishing the bachelor's, you know, graduating, that's all. But he had already seen that far. So it was a very easy conversation for us, lucky enough. But I do acknowledge that it's a very difficult conversation to have, especially with, you know, I mean, when you're in Malawi as a couple, you've got different things going on for you. You've got investments, you've got good jobs and all that. And most of the times when you have to leave, you have to forego a lot of things. You know, you have to let go of a lot of things. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Now we're starting to get into the details. You have started your first year. You are now here with your partner. How did the first year go by? Because this time you're doing your studies now, managing several factors.
Yes. So how did my first year go? So for my first year, surprisingly, when I was starting my first year, that was 2017. So we had been married for about 4 years, 4 or 5 years. We had been married about 4 or 5 years thereabout. And we were thinking of, okay, we need to start a family, you know? So I'm thinking, okay, we need to start a family, but there's this also PhD thing. Now, I don't know whether this was, I'm not gonna call this a coincidence. Again, I've said I'm a believer. Yeah, I'm a believer. So I think, yeah, God saw this. One of the main messages that my supervisor told me in our first meeting, I had two supervisors. So one of them, the conversation that we had, I remember the first time I went to his office was like, you know what, Mapenzie, welcome, you've made it to do your PhD, great. You've got what it takes. That's what I'm going to tell you. You've got what it takes to do this PhD. But I want you to understand a few things. You've come here with your husband. It's going to be very, very unfortunate. And I feel like as your supervisor, I'm going to feel like I have failed you if by the end of the PhD you graduate and you and your husband, you have separated because of whatever differences and the pressure that comes with PhD, because PhD comes with pressure. So keep that in mind. And secondly, I don't want you to stop living life because you're doing a PhD. So live your life. Don't, if you want to travel. If you want to have a family, have a family. If you want to, do things, do it. Don't stop living your life just because, oh, I'm doing a PhD, so no, I cannot do this. I'm doing a PhD, I can't start a family. And it was funny because we were already in that space where we're thinking, okay, I think we should start a family, but starting a family is a big thing. And then this PhD is also a big thing. How do we balance all that? But it just happened to be, one of the conversations that my supervisor kept saying, if you want to start a family, do it. Don't wait until you finish your PhD and then say, oh, okay, now let's start a family. No, do it. So that helped to, calm us down to know that we're going to be fine. We can handle it. And yeah, so for me, for first year, when we were doing, yes, I was excited for first year PhD. I was trying to gauge myself, with what I know, with what, knowing myself, how I work and everything. How do I balance meeting, the milestones of my first year in PhD, but then at the same time also looking at, can I start a family? And yeah, that's what my first year was for me, trying to have a feel that, okay, with the pressure that, I'm feeling or anticipating, can I handle this with a newborn baby? Can I handle this with a toddler and all that? So that happened in the first year. And yeah, we welcomed our first baby in a year. A year later, when I was coming from my field work, actually, when I went for my field work in second year, I was pregnant. And I was very lucky because, the nkwanis that I was craving and all that, I was home. I was home eating the bonongwes and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
work. And I had told my supervisors as well. They were very supportive of that. When I finished, that's when I told them that, oh yeah, I'm expecting and all that. They're like, oh, are you okay to fly? You need to come back quickly so that, you know what, you need to take care of yourself and blah 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 and stuff. Very, 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 very kind and very, very sweet people. Yeah, so came back. I remember I came back from my fieldwork. Was it in April, May, June? I think around May. We welcomed our baby in July, and yeah, took a couple of months off and then dived right back into it with a newborn baby. Yeah, that was first year and second year. Should I go to third year?
Yes, let's go to third year. This is getting more interesting.
now in so our baby, very calm baby. They always say your first one is a scam. Yeah. Very calm baby, very sweet and nice. But I remember it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy because then I was navigating motherhood at the same time, navigating what my data looks like, if it is answering the research questions that I had set out to do. I was blessed. My mom came over to help me with my son the first 6 months. That helped a great deal. But obviously the visas here is just 6 months, and then she had to go back. So it was back to me and Louis. And, here you don't have the kind of, nannies are there, childminders are there, but they are not that affordable. Yeah. There with the money that we were making and all that, we couldn't make it work having like a full-time nanny to be taking care of our son. So we had to make it work between myself and my husband. He was working, I was doing school and also working as well, and then having a young one. The advantage of that has been for me as a parent has been that we have all been present in our kids' life, which I feel like. And when I say this, I'm not saying this in like a judgmental or negative way, but when you are in a place where you have to, like, you cannot say, oh, okay, yeah, you take care of, I'm going to work, so you be with the baby, and then I'm gonna see you after work. It wasn't somebody else. It was Louis. It was the dad. And when the dad says, oh, okay, I'm going to work, so I'll see you later, it wasn't somebody else, it was me. So it was the two of us, So we have really been very involved in their upbringing, which I feel like is a blessing. Might have been different in Malawi if we had our children. It would have been different because there you have a lot of help, which is really amazing that you have that support. But yeah, it's what it is. So anyway, third year comes, and then we are having a conversation with my husband. I was just thinking about it. That, okay, so soon I'll be finishing my PhD, and then I don't know, should we have like our second baby when I finish my PhD or not? We're having this discussion, with my husband, and yeah. We found out we were expecting. Okay, you should have given me a few. We're like, okay, we didn't finish having this conversation, but amazing. So yeah, we're blessed with a little girl, and this little girl, I remember I had her, and I only took, I think 7 days off to get back to myself, because I was due to submit I was due to submit so that I should get the date for a viva. So I couldn't, I didn't have the chance I had with my first to take some time off, 3 months, get some help. I didn't have any of that. And this was also happening during COVID. So we couldn't send for anyone to come to help us with her. So it was just, the two of us and a friend. So it wasn't easy. But we made it work. I remember I've shared with you some of the pictures where she's like, we had routines where she would be with her dad from seven. So a newborn baby hasn't yet developed routines and all that. And she thinks the world revolves around her time.
Because it does.
Yes, the boss of time. So she would stay with her dad downstairs in the living room from 7 p.m. to 9 or 11. And at that time, I'm upstairs working or thinking I should either be working on my dissertation or I should sleep so that I rest. I have to decide. So most of the times I'll be working. And then when, Louis comes in to sleep at around 11, I'll have her. And then we would stay like that until 4. that's when she would fall asleep. And then when she falls asleep, I'll be thinking, should I also sleep, or this is the chance I have to make progress on my dissertation? So yeah, it was something like that. It was something like that. But yeah, we made it work and we submitted, and here we are. And she's turning 5 in May, and our first is turning 7 in July. Yeah.
You are kidding me. So, just to get this straight, you started working on your dissertation 7 days after you delivered.
Yes.
So a week, yes.
Okay, so I had already, the time I was pregnant and all that, the time COVID was hitting, I was, well advanced pregnant. And I remember University of Manchester then, because, social distancing and all that, there was this whole, working from home, lectures had gone online and all that, but then there were still the special cases like myself, which were like, okay, we're still going to make provisions for those that still need to come into, they need to work from here and everything. So I was one of those special cases, a pregnant self that needed to go into work, and they made provisions for that, and they were really amazing. They didn't take away like my workstation. They always made sure I had space to work and I had what I needed. But my dissertation was progressing, and the other thing that I need to add to that is there was also the issue of visas as well. So I couldn't renew my visa. I couldn't like extend my student visa. There were some conditions and all that kind of drama. I don't want to get into it. But the thing was, when I had my son, they sort of like curtailed my visa. They canceled it because I took 3 months maternity leave. So here in the UK, as a student, you can only disrupt your studies for up to 60 days. And anything beyond that, they cancel your visa. They say, oh, you need to go back to your country and then reapply because you're not going to, 3 months is more. I didn't know this. And the administrators at my school as well forgot to mention it. So I took 3 months leave, just thinking, oh, in Malawi, we take 3 months maternity leave and all that. Let's go with it. And they had said, oh, you can take up to 1 year. Yeah, I could take up to 1 year. And I was like, no, 1 year, 12 months. No, that's too much. Just 3 months. Not knowing that 3 months would trigger the curtailment of our visa. So our visa was like 5 years. And we had only done 2. So they curtailed 3 years.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yep, they curtailed 3 years, and I had to leave the country or apply again and all that. So when they... Yeah, that's
okay.
when
okay.
I
No. Yeah, no, I want to hear this. Keep going.
Yeah. So it was also another drama as well, because there was like, oh yeah, so you have to apply your visa again. And at this point, I needed to show that I had, I think, £20,000 in my account that supports, I think it was like 5,000 or 7,000 for me, 7,000 for Louis and the baby. So it was coming up to about 20,000 that needed to be in my account for like 30 days unmoved or anything like that, to show that I have access to that money. I was just a student, working only 20 hours a day. Where was I going to get that? And the visa costs themselves, we had to apply for my visa, my husband's, and our baby now. And that was also coming up to a huge amount as well. Don't even get me started on the healthy surcharge as well for the 3 years, 3 years for me, 3 years for Louis, 3 years for the baby. It was insane. I think I needed about £25,000 or thereabout just to make sure that I get my visas back. So anyway, after back and forth, my supervisors fighting my corner and, life happening and all that, the university helped in sorting that out. But the problem that happened was, instead of remember I said they canceled 3 years, instead of giving me back 3 years, they only gave me back 2. So when I was doing my submission, I needed to have an extra 1 year, with maternity and all that, a baby and everything. I needed to have like a buffer for 1 year so that I can, make adjustments and still be okay. I did not have that buffer. I did not have that extra 1 year. I had lost it. They had removed it the time they were reapplying. So I needed to make sure I submitted my dissertation. I submit my dissertation, do my viva, and then get that through, and then I could apply for like an extension to say, oh, okay, I've done my viva, now I need to extend my visa so that, you know, like I do the corrections, or I do this, I do anything like that. So yeah, so I didn't have the luxury of time. It was like, Mapenzie, you need to submit by this day so that we get your examiners at least a month. Usually examiners are given some up to 3 months, but for me, my supervisors had to get examiners and say, please, our candidate has got this situation, and if you can read her dissertation and, you know, set the date much sooner, I would appreciate it, because otherwise the visa issues and everything is something else. So yeah, that's what I had. So new baby, I couldn't wait. Like, I didn't have the time to heal. I didn't have the time to, you know, settle in, you know, having a little one and then a baby. I didn't have that time. I had to submit the dissertation, and I had to do the viva, and then I had to, otherwise I would have been an overstayer, or I would have had to leave. Yeah.
Okay. Let's end on a very nice note, because that is even more interesting, and I have a million of questions to ask, but I'll ask you one quick question so that I think people have an idea. What was your monthly stipend?
My monthly stipend was £1,200.
Okay, and you have a family of
Four.
and you have rentals, and you have
Yeah.
bills, and in the middle of that, you're also supposed to renew your visa, where you're required to pay close to 30K.
Yeah.
As a student. Okay. No, that helps in clarifying matters, because it's just insane, really insane. So I always enjoy people's Viva stories, and please share with me, how was your Viva, and please give us details. I always love Viva details.
So my Viva details. So nothing dramatic happened for my Viva. I only remember, for me, what was like special was that we were the first group to have our Viva online because of COVID. So there was still that, okay, so how are we going to do like the Viva? Because, you know, you're supposed to be in the room, there's supposed to be, you know, the reviewers, the examiners, your supervisor there, you know, how are we going to do this? And they're, oh, okay, we are going to adjust to, they were still trying out, you know, doing it online. So I had mine online, and I remember when I had gone there, my husband and my kids were in our social room waiting for me. Yes. So we had I had to have milk sorted out for the baby and all that. And then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna go do this Viva and everything. I had asked my my supervisor to be there as well. So all my supervisors were there. I had 2 externals, 1 internal. Yeah, so it was there. I was nervous, obviously, because every day I felt like, or when I was getting closer to submitting, I felt like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. I need to add this section. Oh, I need to clarify this. I need to do this. And my supervisor told me that, you know what, Mapenzie, even if I was to give you like a year or 2 years to do what you think you need to do, you're still going to feel like this a day or a week before your submission, and all that you're going through is very normal. You are all right. Okay, you're okay. You're going to be perfectly fine. So yeah, I went there. They asked me. I had done like a, you know, a mock Viva with my supervisor. I had prepared, expected the questions. I was asked the questions that my supervisor had asked me before, what I had expected and all that, and it was still a bit of, I'm doing a Viva, I'm answering questions and all that, but I was more excited to like talk about my work, talk about my work, the findings, the methods and everything and all that. And they would say, okay, 15 minutes, we need to deliberate. And then, you come back, we'll call you back to come back. And it's like, okay. Yeah, so they had the deliberation and then said, oh, you can come back in. And then I went back in. They're like, oh, yeah, so yeah, congratulations. You have passed your Viva. You just need to make some corrections here. You need to clarify there and everything. Yeah, so all the best. So yeah, nothing dramatic. And I remember walking out there and going to my husband and my kids going like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this day is over, because it just felt like, so I don't know, it wasn't really
no, that makes sense. Who is the first person who called you Dr. Mapenzie?
my husband. Okay, so apart from in the room, the examiner going like giving me like the results to say, oh, congratulations, you have passed your Viva, Dr. Mapenzie, and then and then the supervisors, unmuting their mic, going like, congratulations, Dr. Mapenzie, now you have earned, the title and everything. Walking out there, my husband was like,
I am always excited to hear the stories, and it is also on this particular note that I wanted us to end our chat. I didn't want us to end where we were. I wanted us to end on a more positive note. I didn't want people to leave here very disappointed, feeling like with problems. But I think clearly, when I talk to people that have done a PhD or they have done most of the studies, some of the challenges we shared are common challenges that people face. They just take different shapes.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy to hear that it was one of the goals of your supervision to ensure that they keep your family together. That is the first time that I've heard a supervisor making it their project to ensure that they keep the family together.
Yeah.
There are not many people out there, I think, who think like that.
Let me just add something on that. Sorry. Let me just add something on that.
Yeah.
And for him, it was really a serious thing for him as well, because he would tell me, Mapenzie, if you work on your PhD like you would a 9 to 5, we start work at 9 here, right? Finish at 5. If you work on like a 9 to 5, you would finish your PhD in time. You don't need to stay over up until 12 midnight, 11. That's unnecessary. But if you work 9 straight work and all that, so every time you would find me in the office, like after 5, Mapenzie, what are you doing? You need to go. You need to go. Your husband is waiting for you. You need to go. So he was serious about that. Yeah.
No, I'm grateful for people like those. I mean, it's very rare to meet people who do understand that a candidate is not just their studies. I think they have different aspects of their life, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear that they were also very much interested in your mental health.
Oh yeah.
And today being Valentine's Day, and I know their plans, I'm not going to hold you here. I can see that, so I'm not going to hold you here for so long. If there are plans, good luck.
Thank you.
If you are cooking, good luck. Yes. So there are plans then.
Yeah, my office is sorted for now. I just need to go find the chocolates and the whatnot. No, these very things.
What do you mean you need to find it? Are you buying them yourself, or Louis is doing them?
I need to find it, because these flowers, I found them in my office. I was coming here running. I'm like, okay, I'm late. I need to set up my stuff and everything. And I flowers and all that. So yeah.
Okay. Let me release you so that you can enjoy your life. But it was great to have you. It was amazing, and I'm very sure that people are going to learn a lot from your story.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I think last words that I would say is people shouldn't be afraid to pursue their dreams, even when they are married, or if they are taking on like maybe a challenging task like a PhD. I still remember what my supervisor said, to say that, don't stop living life just because you're doing a PhD. And yeah, don't stop, doing what you need to do just because you're doing maybe something that seems to be daunting or a big task. So yeah, here we are, 3 years, 4 years after the graduation, and yeah, we'll see what life takes us to. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I can't remember the last time I talked about this thing.
And I know that we didn't touch a lot of things.
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, I know. I'm sorry if your viewers still have questions and
no, 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 no.
I
I know
hope, I
they,
hope.
they'll always have questions, but we can end here and you have to go.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, bye.